What are your early impressions of Mike Zimmer?
Honestly, man, me and Zim probably said a total of 20 words to each other.
Oh.
Yeah, he's a very quiet person, and all I keep hearing from the coaches is like, Zim likes it this way. I was like, well, I like it this way, like, you know. So I can't wait to have like my true like sit down with him. I think it'll be pretty cool because obviously old school mindset, old school mentality. But you know, I think he has a lot of great players, but he ain't never have a Micah before, so it'll be fun, and I think it's gonna be unique. There's a lot of similarities on things, how he used me with how Dan used me in the system, but he has more tweaks in terms of how he's going to set things up. And also, there's some things that I got to get used to too. You know, it's going to be a compromisable relationship. There's going to things he's like, I'm not going to give on, I don't give on. That's a part of the whole regime, you know?
All right, Cowboys fans, so tell me, how are we feeling now? We heard the audio, finally, from Micah Parsons, from the polarizing quotes that were made yesterday. And even I was kind of like, ooh, people are not going to take this the right way when we read the quote as it pertained to Mike Zimmer and Micah Parsons saying that Mike Zimmer needed to compromise and that type of thing. It did sound kind of wild, and I wanted to make sure that I gave, you know, some credence to the perspective that Micah Parsons really shouldn't be talking about what his coach is going to have to do as it pertains to him, right? But hearing the audio, seeing his tone, seeing his body language when he's talking, Micah is just kind of talking from a place of comfort. He's kind of like just letting them know, he's in a matter-of-fact tone, like, hey, I'm confident in my abilities as well. I'm going into my 4th season. I have been all-pro all 3 seasons. I've been in the Defensive Player of the Year conversation all 3 seasons. Clearly, I am succeeding at doing something, right? So I do think it's fair for him to be like, hey, there's certain things that I do want to do. You know, there's certain things I like a certain way because I know it's successful for me, which means it is successful for the team as well. So honestly, I don't believe that Micah was saying this in a harmful manner. I don't think that he was saying this in a way in which any of us should be offended, because there was 2 types of responses yesterday. And I'm going to address both types of responses real quick. And that's more so what this video about. And then after this, we're gonna dead this. We're gonna dead this. At this point, Micah Parsons is the type of player, and he's proving to be the type of player that if you don't like what he's saying, if you don't like what he's doing, you don't need to pay attention, because he's going to do it regardless, right? But I do want to address both points. There was 2 types of comments. There was, trade this guy, he's terrible, etc., etc. I'm going to say this. I am never going to condemn and throw away a 25-year-old young man. 25 years old. Micah Parsons is still learning even what he is as a grown man right now. He's still even discovering himself. He's still coming into his own as a man. All of y'all watching this video right now, because I know I can be honest and say I didn't truly start becoming my own as a man for real, until after I had a kid and really was responsible for an entire household of people. And even then, there was still some growth that needed to be had to really get out of the mind state of a young man or even a kid in some ways, right? At 25, I did not have it all figured out. And I don't think just because he has millions of dollars, that's going to instantly make him have it all figured out. And that's why throughout this whole thing, I've made sure to give some room for growth. I've given him some grace, even in my critiques, because I think it is important that we don't just enable guys and allow them to believe that the way that they see the world is the way that everything is always going to be, because I don't think that that is fair to them. That's doing a disservice to these young men if we are feeding them a lie, essentially, and we're making them believe a lie as it pertains to how the world around them is going to react to the things that they're doing. I do think it's important that these young men have people around them or have questions asked of them that forces them to be introspective at times, because I feel like that is the best way to grow as an individual, man or woman, is you have to be introspective and you have to have a level of self-awareness. And usually the people around you, the people closest to you, are going to be the ones that help you have that self-awareness, or in these athletes' case, the media and the public perception is what's going to make them have those moments of introspect and have those moments of self-awareness and have to really look around and see, how are my decisions and how are my actions impacting the environment around me, right? It's important to do that. I do believe that. But I do believe that's important that we don't just make our mind up on people, especially when it's not coming from a bad place. I think it's important you don't start judging people, because I think that's when it gets dangerous. Throughout this whole thing, I have not judged Micah Parsons. I have simply wanted to know where his mind is at, because his actions weren't necessarily lining up with what he was feeding fans earlier in the offseason. And that is fair, and I think that's being realistic, y'all. At the end of the day, I want to make it to where if one of these guys were to happen to ever see one of these videos, one of these segments, they're able to gain something from it. It's not just someone that's tearing them down or trying to drag them through the mud. It's not just someone trying to criticize what they're saying. It's coming from a place of, hey, you my boy, you playing for my team. I want you to be aware this is truly what it looks like. And I think that's fair. But there was two types of comments yesterday. There was the, let's trade Micah, let's throw him away. And I already addressed that. I'm never throwing away a 25-year-old. I'm sure Warren Sapp, Lawrence Taylor, Ed Reed, Ray Lewis, all these vicious defensive savants from years past, I'm sure these dudes used to have a ton of confidence in their abilities, and they will let anybody that asks them about it know.
Hell, remember, we're not too far removed from the Legion of Boom years, and we remember how much Richard Sherman was talking on those teams.
I'm sure there's been much more wild things said and done than what Micah Parsons has done this offseason, even with his celebrity tour and seemingly being distracted in some people's opinions. He ain't out here doing cocaine like LT was. At least to our knowledge, but he ain't out here getting caught doing drugs and getting mug shots and stuff like that. So at the end of the day, he's being productive. He's being productive with himself. Even if it's not necessarily with football, he still is a human being. He still has a personal life. He's being productive within his personal life. He's building relationships. He's networking. He's building businesses. Can't get mad at that, y'all. Just can't get mad at that. And I think it is important that we be able to take a step back. And even if you do feel a way about his initial actions and what he was doing and everything else like that, you got to be able to take a step back and be like, okay, at the end of the day, we're in the off season. It's not really affecting the team. Even if I don't necessarily agree with it, I don't like it, it looks bad. Hey, if it seems like the people in the building don't have an issue with it, I'm not going to have an issue with it. And as of right now, it doesn't seem like anybody in the building openly has an issue with anything Micah Parsons is doing. So I am not, and I don't think you guys should have an issue with the stuff that he's doing if the people in the building don't have an issue with it. And that's just the approach that I'm going to take with stuff like this, because at the end of the day, these people know better, bro. They know the ins and outs of what's going on. They know how much he is there and when he's there and who he's talking to and when he's talking to him and what they need from him and how they need to get it from him. So if they don't have an issue with it, I'm not going to have an issue with it. But, and I'm going to address the second type of comment, which is the, oh, y'all shouldn't care about anything that they're doing. Why did he care? Just wait till Sunday. It don't matter. Hey, man, people have a right to have an opinion on things. People are invested into these athletes, whether it be financially through supporting them and buying their merchandise, whatever it may be. People are invested into these athletes. I'm sorry. Anything that people are invested into, whether it be their time or their money, they're allowed to have an opinion on. They have a right to give their opinion on it, man. And that's the other extreme. I don't think extremes of anything are a good thing. That's the other extreme that I kind of want to fight against, because I lie somewhere in the middle. I think it's good to be able to see both sides of things. I think it's good to be able to have a well-rounded perspective. I think it's good to not have to pick a hill and die on it. I think it's good to be able to take in new information and be like, all right, I'm going to change my thoughts on this a little bit. I'm going to tweak how I was initially looking at this a little bit. I think that's a sign of growth. I think that's a sign of being a well-rounded human being. But the same people that go out of their way to tell people not to care about what they're saying and what they're doing and stuff, you're literally doing exactly what you're telling people not to do to Micah Parsons when you're telling people not to give an opinion or not to think about or not to make content, in my case, on certain things. You're trying to tell people and dictate what those people are doing with their time. So you see what I'm saying? You're being a hypocrite. You can't have it both ways. You can't be like, oh, y'all shut up, don't even ask questions, who cares, da-da-da-da-da. But in the same sense, you condemning people that do care. You care. You clearly care about the conversation, even if it isn't the same way that they care about it. You care about the conversation. So you can't get mad at somebody for caring in a different way than you care, right? And you definitely ain't gonna get mad at me for posting content and covering the news and giving my thoughts and opinions on things as I cover the news. Because that's literally what this channel is built off of. A guy giving news, analysis, thoughts and opinions, and objective takes. That's what this is, guys. And obviously it's going to skew positively for the Cowboys because I don't want to continue to perpetuate the negative environment that's been created by the national media and even the local media in certain cases about the Cowboys and these players. And that's why I think it's important that, given the context that this was provided by the audio from Micah Parsons, regardless of everything else that's been going on, you don't throw this guy away, man. You don't throw this guy away. He's an intelligent young man. He's confident in his abilities. I think that Mike Zimmer is going to do wonders for helping him kind of mature as a football player and even as a young man. I think Mike Zimmer and his influence is going to help this dude on a immeasurable level, personally. And I cannot wait, and I'm excited to see what that impact is going to look like on Micah Parsons and how it translates to the football field, because I do think that they're going to have a very, very good relationship, and I think that our defense is going to look amazing this season. And I think by mid-season, nobody's going to care about anything that was going on in the offseason because this team is going to be playing above everyone's expectations. That's my honest opinion. And with that being said, I am not going to sit here and condemn Micah Parsons. I'm not going to continue to beat down on him or anything like that. I'm not even going to ask the questions that I was initially asking to him because he's answered them. He's given his answer. And at this point, it's, are you okay with his answer or are you not? If you're not, then you just have to not be okay with it. And there's nothing that no amount of talk or anything is going to do because we can't force this young man to do anything. If you are okay with it, then cool. Move on with your life. I'm cool with the answer. I'm moving on with my life. We're going to the next topic. We're going to get into these mini camp topics. But at the end of the day, like I was saying, I am a Cowboys content channel. I am going to cover anything that's going on with the Cowboys, whether it's good, bad, or in between. I'm going to cover it because I am a business and I am going to generate income for my business. And the only way to generate income for your business on YouTube is to do content. So I'm going to do my content. I'm going to talk about things that other people identify as news stories. I'm going to talk about things that I identify as a news story. I'm going to have important discussions and debates on different topics that are popular in the Cowboys community. If you don't want to see those debates and topics, you don't have to click on the video. No one is kicking in your door and grabbing your wrist and forcing you to click on my videos. Okay, so that's all I'm gonna say. The same way you telling people don't worry about what Micah Parsons is doing, think about that before you leave that comment on my video. Don't worry about what I'm doing. Because some of y'all are kind of getting out of pocket a little bit, trying to tell me what I can and should and shouldn't and all this other stuff on my channel. I ain't going to do whatever the hell I want to do on my channel. I don't need any one person to be here. If you don't like the content anymore, you're not forced to be here. If you do like the content, cool, subscribe, leave a like on the video. Let's have fun. Let's talk ball. Let's continue to root for our team and enjoy the excellent content that I'm putting out for y'all, right? But either way, nothing burger. I'm cool with this. Micah, you're good in my book, bro. But either way, appreciate you guys tuning in. We still them same old Cowboys. See you guys on the next one.
Calling me, texting me, paging me, asking me, am I still the ball? Y'all usually check on me. Listen. I'm still the boys. Woo,